So breaking news, Iran has just pulled out of the nuclear deal. Okay, so this is the JCPOA. This is the nuclear deal that they had made with Europe and with the United States in Vienna back in 2015, 2016. So they're out. So I'll read you the statement here. The Islamic Republic of Iran will end its final limitations in the nuclear deal, meaning the limitation in the number of centrifuges. Therefore, Iran's nuclear program will have no limitations in production, including enrichment capacity and percentage and number of enriched uranium, and research and expansion. So although they're saying that they're not pulling out of the deal officially and that they're going to continue cooperating with the UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, if they're saying that there's no limit on enrichment, I mean, the deal is de facto over. They're out. If you guys remember, Donald Trump pulled the United States out of this deal in May 2018. But Iran continued the agreement with Europe, okay? So despite the United States pulling out, in good faith, Iran was like, okay, we're just going to keep going with the agreement. We're not going to enrich uranium to, 90% if you need it for weapons or something like that. I think in the agreement, they have to keep it at like 3% for civilian purposes. So if we're talking about, nuclear-powered reactors, just for civilian reasons. So they had agreed to continue that with Europe, even though the United States pulled out of the agreement and slapped a bunch of sanctions on them. But now, after Donald Trump ordered the assassination of Soleimani a few days ago, so if you weren't keeping up, this is a general. He heads the Quds force in Iran, which runs all of their proxies across the Middle East. Okay, so it's very, very, very important for the Iranian acts of influence in the Middle East, in Iraq, in Lebanon, even in Syria. And they killed him. They assassinated him with a drone strike. And so this is a response to that assassination. All right. Iran have said they're going to have military responses as well. But this, you could see this as a military response, albeit indirect, because now they're giving themselves the right to develop nuclear weapons. That's why this is so significant. Now, I am so sure that you are going to see a bunch of meatheads on Fox News and elsewhere going like, oh, well, Iran was just looking for any excuse to go and develop nuclear weapons. No, I don't think that this was done in bad faith. On the contrary, it's the United States that pulled out of the nuclear deal first, not Iran. And Iran kept it going until now. So if they had really wanted to do that in bad faith, they would have pulled out at the same time as the United States did immediately, almost 2 years ago. So I don't think that's a fair assessment. I think this is a direct retaliation, a direct response to what just happened. It's not because they were scheming all along to never follow the deal and pull out. No, I don't think so. But of course, they're going to spin it that way on Fox News. Of course. Now, this is very significant, man. It's really crazy. Effectively, right now, you have nothing stopping Iran from making nuclear weapons. So they're not going to abide by the protocols set out by the IAEA, although they've said that, if sanctions are lifted, they will cooperate with European states and the IAEA. Okay? So the International Atomic Energy Agency. They've said that they will work with Europe, they will work with the UN if the sanctions are lifted. So they're not completely shutting the door, but they are saying like, yo, we have no more reason to abide by those protocols anymore. We don't care now since you're attacking us, assassinating army and government officials. They don't care anymore. So that's very significant. And by the way, there's another thing that happened in Iraq. Their parliament voted to expel a U.S. armed forces presence. Okay, so they basically voted to get rid of all foreign troops in Iraq. But the thing is, they didn't put a timeline. They didn't put a timeline on the bill. Okay, so the bill passed in parliament, but they didn't say when. So it's kind of, political language, right? That's how they do bills usually. It's always some bullshit in there. But this was also as a response to what just happened, because, you got to keep in mind, they didn't assassinate the Soleimani in Iran. They did it in Iraq, right? So a lot of people see that as a violation of Iraqi sovereignty, because you're just permitting yourself to launch airstrikes and assassinate people in someone else's country. I mean, what are you doing? It is a violation of sovereignty. So for them, that was their response too. They're like, yo, it's over. That deal that they had in 2014 to continue a presence by U.S. troops, they're going to get rid of it now. Okay, so those are two very significant developments. That vote was on Saturday, I think, and now on Sunday, like just 2 hours ago, Iran has announced that they're pulling out of the nuclear deal. This is huge. I mean, when I saw the headline, I was literally taken aback. I was like, what? You're kidding me. This is really heavy stuff, man. And you got to think what's going to happen in the future, because, you might have Israel now targeting nuclear sites in Iran and launching strikes there, as they've done in the past. They used to do that in Iraq too, in Syria. So who knows, man? I don't think it's de-escalating. I think it's going the opposite way. But again, I wouldn't give in to all those memes talking about, World War III coming. Yes, the memes are great, but, I don't think there's going to be a world war. No, it's not. Again, the power dynamics, the alliances, they are not the same as they were in World War I and World War II. It's a different world, man. It doesn't work that way anymore. Even though, yes, you have NATO, but still, it's not the same. I don't think you're going to have a worldwide conflict because of this. But it is very significant. It's nothing to be scoffed at, especially with this development about the nuclear deal. Really, really heavy stuff. And the language that Trump is using on Twitter is truly appalling. I mean, this guy is literally threatening Iran with war crimes. He published a tweet earlier saying that we have targeted 52 Iranian sites representing the 52 American hostages taken by Iran many years ago, some at a very high level and important to Iran and the Iranian culture. And those targets and Iran itself will be hit very fast and very hard. The USA wants no more threats. Now, this is blatantly a war crime. You cannot attack the culture or cultural heritage and sites of other countries. This is completely forbidden by international law, by the Red Cross, and I think Iran is home to something like 24 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, so I don't know what this guy is talking about, but it is completely illegal, completely unconstitutional, a violation of all international laws and standards to do something like this. So I really don't know what's going on in this man's head. And he even told Congress to go follow him on Twitter to know what he is up to. I mean, this is madness. The guy needs congressional approval and authorization to commit acts of war in the first place, which he's violating. But not only that, he doesn't even want to tell them what he's up to. I think Nancy Pelosi was only told of this assassination on Friday, a few minutes before the Pentagon made the statement public. So he's not letting anyone know what he's up to. It's complete madness. Now, what's funny is also the reaction by Europe, because apparently they didn't even tell the UK. Boris Johnson was reportedly very angry that no one told him that they were going to assassinate Soleimani. And, a lot of European nations, they haven't exactly praised the assassination, but they've been more worried about their own service members that are in Iraq and Syria, fighting ISIS at the moment, because according to them, they're saying that their troops are now put at risk by this assassination. So they're very concerned about that. And I mean, you have a lot of US lawmakers themselves who are saying that this was completely irresponsible and stupid of Trump to do, because all he's done now is escalate the situation and possibly ignite a war with Iran, right? So who knows what's going to happen still? I mean, this alone today is crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy. Now, again, Iran, I don't think that they're bluffing, but the fact that they are leaving the door open to Europe and saying that, yo, if you lift sanctions on us, you let us sell our oil to you and elsewhere, then maybe we won't enrich your uranium that high. Okay, so they're leaving the door open for that. But as far as the JCPOA goes, the nuclear deal from 2015, yeah, that's done. So that's crazy, First Trump undid Obama's work, and now Iran is pulled out. And I mean, well, that's it. If Iran is out, then the deal is really done, because the whole premise was that Iran would stay in good faith towards Europe and European countries and not do it. But, Now that's gone. So anyway, we'll see what happens next. In any case, like I said, I was completely shocked by this and just crazy stuff. And I think we're going to have more developments in the coming weeks, not just in Iran, but also from Iraq and the surrounding countries as a ripple effect from the assassination that happened on Friday.